What's up everybody and welcome to my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Joe T and we're here to talk about anything and everything related to Sonic the Hedgehog. Today I want to talk about A Tale of Two Cities, or in our case, A Tale of Two Sonics. Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. Now before we get started, there are two very important things I want to bring up. The first of which, and probably most important, what you are about to hear are solely my opinions on these games. Now I've only been able to formulate these opinions over the last few months after having some dedicated time with each game, trying to be as unbiased as possible as a longtime Sonic fan, which I know that many of you watching this video probably are. The second thing I wanted to mention is that I realize it's not exactly fair to compare the two games and pit them against one another. First of all, they were developed by different teams for very different purposes. Sonic Mania was developed by independent developers who were just loyal Sonic fans looking to deliver something to the Sonic community, sort of a continuation of the 2D platforming style that left off with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic Forces was developed by Sonic Team over at Sega. Now, of course, as a corporation, their goal is to always make money, and while I have no problem with that, I believe that in their quest, they've gotten a bit lost, as I'm sure many of you would agree as well, and the franchise seems to have become lukewarm at best over the last few years. Now, without further ado, let's talk about some comparisons between the two games. Let's start with Sonic Forces. Oh God, where do I begin with this? You may recall when Sonic Forces was first introduced at Sonic's 25th anniversary in California. It was introduced not as a sequel to Sonic Generations, which surprised many of the fans given that it had both classic Sonic and modern Sonic in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I was very disappointed when they announced Sonic Forces at the 25th anniversary celebration. Like a lot of people in the crowd, I was 100% certain that after having unveiled Sonic Mania, showing that they could listen to the fans and reach across the aisle and go for compromise, that the next 3D Sonic game would be Sonic Adventure 3. I'm not gonna get hung up like a lot of people and say, I'm holding out hope for that game. I've pretty much given up at this point. However, the fact remains, instead we got Sonic Forces, and I tried to keep an open mind on a game that I knew very little about other than the two Sonics who would be returning to the game that was not a sequel to Sonic Generations, but also had some of the levels from Sonic Generations with a twist. When Sonic Forces finally became available, I tried to abstract myself of all of the negative reviews. I really wanted to give this game a chance. Unfortunately, as soon as I bought, downloaded, and started playing this game, I realized that all of my previous biases and all of the things that I thought could be wrong with this game were wrong. As I'm playing through the game, I think the biggest disappointment that I experienced was the storyline. Because this game was portrayed in such a way that the storyline was going to return to kind of darker tones. Eggman had taken over 99% of the world. Sonic went away for a while. Shadow was evil again. And there was this mysterious source which later became infinite, which was helping Eggman with all of his control. And part of the problem, I think, is with the voice acting. So I know guys like Roger Craig Smith and Mike Pollock, absolutely nothing against them. I think they are talented individuals, but for their voice acting and some of the one-liners that they delivered in this game, I mean, come on. I know that Sonic is cartoonish and he's always had kind of those taglines, like what Jaleel White used to have back in the day in the original Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, obviously for the cartoon. But I don't think that if you're, again, selling a game with a dark storyline or saying that you need to take this more seriously, those voice actors, to me, don't seem to fit the bill. It just didn't, it's not something that captured me. It's not as capturing as a story that would be in the first Sonic Adventure, the second Sonic Adventure, even Sonic 06. A lot of people have problems with Sonic 06, the glitches, and especially the storyline with the weird interspecies relationship between Hedgehog and human, Princess Elise. Whatever the case is, I would take that story hands down above and beyond this story any day of the week. I'm going to reference Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 a lot because they're kind of seen as the gold standard when it comes to modern Sonic, being that they were the first 3D Sonic games to come on the market for the original Dreamcast in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now in both of those games, there are many different paths that you could take to get from point A to point B. It is very non-linear. It is adventurous. That's part of the adventure. You could explore different paths, get new prizes, and even unique abilities. I guarantee that if I were to go back to those games today, I would discover specific paths or things that I didn't even know about 15 years ago when I first started playing those games. Now, Sonic Forces does borrow from Sonic Unleashed, where it mixes that 2D and 3D style, even for modern Sonic. But I think where it really falls flat on its face is the fact that given the 3D parts, it is very linear. There is a complete straight line in some of those levels, and maybe even most of the levels, to get you from the start to the finish. And I just don't see that as being very exciting. And for replayability, that offers absolutely nothing to gamers. This game had way too much 2D in it. Given the fact that modern Sonic, for half the stage, will be in 2 dimensions, side-scrolling, and the custom character for a lot of their stages, his or hers, will be 2D side-scrolling, and classic Sonic is 100% 2D side-scrolling. In my head, I can't calculate exactly what it is, but it's probably close to 2/3 of the game is completely 2D, perhaps even more. I know that there's been a lot of theories that Sonic Mania didn't get brought on board as a project until after the advent and the development of Sonic Forces. That is very possible. So my hope in the future is that with the next 3D sequel and with the next, cross our fingers, sequel to Sonic Mania, we have found a divergence where Sonic Mania can continue on the 2D path for fans of that classic platforming style, while the next Sonic game in the 3D category will stay just that, will remain fully 3D. I think that Sonic Unleashed did a very good job. It was the first game that had ever done it. Back then it was original, now it's tired. I think it's something that needs to be retired and just given to Christian Whitehead and his team. Obviously they're very good at what they do, they listen to fans, and they're very creative. So they have a lot of fresh ideas, I'm sure. Let them go with the 2D level design, and let's get back to 3D Sonic. Let's get back to Adventures, to Heroes, to Sonic 06, and let's just stick with that. And again, continuing with the topic of 2D, I felt as though classic Sonic in Sonic Forces, his physics were a little bit off. It was a little bit slow to get him started, and even when he got running or when he hit a bumper, it seemed like he would lose speed pretty fast. And what's most unfortunate about this is that if you pick up a game, a 2D game, like Sonic Mania, which was not developed for Sega Genesis or by Sonic Team, it feels very natural. Sonic Mania and any of the classic 2D Sonic games next to one another, you can't really tell that there's a difference in physics. But I think what's most striking is that when you pick up a game like Sonic Generations, which was developed by the same team, and again, first of its kind, having classic and modern Sonic, they're doing that again for Sonic Forces. They updated the Hedgehog engine. But when it comes to using classic Sonic, it seems like something changed. Classic Sonic in Sonic Generations was very fluid, very fast, came to a stop very gracefully, and I do not feel that way in Sonic Forces. I really think that that's something they really felt short on, and it's something they could have put a little more effort into making the physics feel more realistic, a little bit more fluid, and more natural. Sonic Forces seems like a pretty soulless rehash of tired tricks that have been used in many of the recent Sonic games, and almost demonstrates that Sega and Sonic Team are running out of ideas completely. I know it sounds like I've been giving a lot of hate towards Sonic Forces. Part of that is because I am, but it's not all bad. In fact, there's a lot of aspects of the game that I really enjoy. The second most hyped feature, I would say, next to the story, was probably the custom character. Now, the custom character was a huge selling point for the game. It's something that the Sonic games have never had. So being able to create a custom character and follow it through the storyline and actually be part of this Sonic Forces team was pretty cool. I thought it was a great introduction, and they really delivered. They did a fantastic job with the custom character. There are new mods and new things that you could equip on the character as you go throughout the game, things to unlock, so that gives the game at least some replayability in that fashion. Another thing I absolutely love about Sonic Forces is the introduction of the new boss, Infinite. Infinite is an absolutely badass character. He's got awesome music, which was done by this band Danger Kids, and I just think his levels offer more of a challenge than your average boss fight or average level within Sonic Forces. And kind of the mystery behind Infinite, you don't really know too much about his background. Even when you're playing the game, you don't really know what he is or how he's taken form. Kind of takes me back to how Shadow was introduced in Sonic Adventure 2, and eventually they gave Shadow his own game, which was another game that wasn't highly rated, but honestly I thought it was a pretty good game. Had a decent story, and of course, you go through different paths to get to that one true ending, which I always love. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. But let's talk about Sonic Mania. Now for Sonic Mania, I think it was very successful for many reasons. I remembered something recently that is kind of interesting, and a theory I have, it's not something I have proof of. When we're talking Sonic Mania, we have to remember that Christian Whitehead and Simon Tomley developed this kind of behind the scenes, underground, and then pitched it to Sega in late 2015, early 2016, after which point it was accepted. As I understand it, Sonic Team was actually the one who replied to Christian Whitehead and said, yes, you could do this game, but you're going to bring back some old levels and remix those old levels for the 25th anniversary. Originally, Christian Whitehead and Simon Tomley did not have that idea. They wanted to make a brand new Sonic game using some of the 2D sprites and physics and just make all original levels. Well, this is important because around that same time, I recall that Sonic Team and Sega put out a Facebook survey, which was actually a questionnaire about Sonic. And this questionnaire would ask things about different Sonic games that people have played, and why certain Sonic games were their favorite, which Sonic games were their favorite, which levels were their favorite, what did you like about the level design, what did you like about item boxes, etc., the list goes on. Now, I have this theory that that survey may have been used to some capacity to shape the outcome of Sonic Mania and perhaps even Sonic Forces, because that questionnaire spanned both the 2D and the 3D Sonic lifetime. So I think that they may have been testing the waters and asking fans, specifically for Sonic Mania, which was developed by fans for fans, kind of what they wanted to see returning to these games. There were a lot of levels that returned and a lot of things that returned that I think people, including myself, were very pleased with. In fact, before Sonic Mania, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, in my opinion, was the best 2D Sonic game developed. As a complete game, I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles beats all the other ones because it shows the most progression, both in terms of level design, its capabilities, the item boxes, and even the bonus levels. There were just so many fun things about this game. Given that Sonic Mania has borrowed and taken all of the good from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I can now safely say that Sonic Mania is my new favorite 2D Sonic game. It is leaps and bounds better than any other Sonic game I've played, and it wasn't even developed by Sonic Team. The remixed levels are absolutely brilliant. I love the fact that they kept the Act 1 similar and paying homage to the original levels, while experimenting and trying new things with Act 2. Some great examples of that. Green Hill Zone Act 2. They included portions of the background that were the totem pole, very close by, or the waterfalls in the background, or the mountains that were supposed to be in the original Sonic game. Flying Battery Zone. They mixed elements of water and wind that actually move your character and affect your character, while making it kind of look like Wing Fortress Zone mixed with Flying Battery Zone. Hydro City Zone, with the introduction of the little boats, those pole change that change the levels of the water. There's just so many great details, and I can go on and on, but if you've played the game and you're a loyal Sonic fan, you know most of these. You know all of the Easter eggs that Christian and team put into this game, and all the hard work and effort and attention to detail. And these are the reasons why I feel that Sonic Mania is so successful. But among those, there are some others, including the music. And we can't leave out T. Lopes from this conversation. For those of you that may not be familiar with T. Lopes' background, T. Lopes was an independent composer who kind of got his start and his recognition making remixes for other Sonic songs. He's a genius, as is everybody else on the Sonic Mania team, but he needs special recognition for what he has done, because what he's composed for Sonic Mania rivals that of Sonic CD and Michael Jackson's composers that worked on Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The music absolutely captures you and makes the game. The fact that when you go to the file select menu, the fact that there is a file select menu, and that music is kind of a rendition of the file select from Sonic 3, but with a new kind of Caribbean twist to it. It's just the thought process that he had going in and making this music. I can't say enough how much I appreciate that as a fan, and he deserves awards for the work that he's done on this game. And on the topic of borrowing something old from the Sonic 3 and Knuckles games, or from the original games, in addition to the elemental shields, the transition in levels, and the fact that Knuckles has different paths to take. Recall I talked a little bit about level design and how it's very linear in Sonic Forces. Well, in Sonic Mania, there are many different paths that you could take as any character. I've always been a fan of that because, again, for replayability, the fact that you can play as different characters and actually take different paths, because it's one thing to use different abilities, like obviously Knuckles can glide and then climb on things, but the fact that he can go in certain areas that Sonic and Tails can't makes the game replayability that much better. In the interest of fairness, and with how much I bash Sonic Forces, I feel as though I need to take a step back and talk about some of the things that could have been improved upon for Sonic Mania as well, or areas where it fell short. Now again, this game in most publications was rated 9 out of 10 and was the best rated Sonic game in 15 years. A huge deal again, given that Sonic Team did not develop this, so I hope they're paying attention. Now when it comes to the bonus levels, so there's only one bonus stage. It's the Return of Blue Sphere, which is fine. You unlock, you get medallions, either silver or gold, based on if you get a perfect or not with all the spheres, and those unlock things. However, once you've unlocked everything, there's really no reason to ever return to those levels. At least in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I wish they would have done this in Sonic Mania, there's replayability because you get items, you could collect extra rings to get more extra lives, and there was kind of that incentive to go into those levels, but not the case in Sonic Mania. Another minor detractor from this game, I think, was the lack of online co-op or multiplayer in versus mode. Those online capabilities would have added to the value of the game. Now, granted, the game is only $20, so I may be asking for a lot here. But one of the things I would have loved to have seen in this game is the ability for me to play online with my friends. I know with Sonic Mania Plus coming out, they are expanding the local multiplayer versus mode from 2 players to 4 players. Realistically, I have no idea how many people are going to go out, get 4 controllers hooked up to their Xbox, their PlayStation, or their Switch, and do a split screen to do a versus mode. You know, this isn't the 1990s anymore. However, I do appreciate it for its nostalgic value and the fact that the capability does exist should you have friends over and want to get together and play some Sonic. I think that's great. But the addition of online, which I think is still not in Sonic Mania Plus even, would have been a great addition. So to wrap everything up, again, this was just a video of my opinions and my observations and the stark differences between Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. I'm not looking to sway anybody's opinion, and I don't think Sega is listening to the fans, so I'm certainly not looking to sway their opinion, because I think if they were listening, Sonic Forces would not have been created as we know it. We wouldn't see Green Hill for the millionth time, nor Chemical Plant, both of which were just in the last 3D Sonic game. So my only 2 hopes at this point are that Sonic Team comes to a realization and makes a true 3D Sonic game that is for loyal fans and can attract new fans as well, and Sonic Mania gets a proper sequel. If both of those things happen, or even one of those things happen, I guess I'd be pretty happy. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is my first YouTube video for this channel, but there's a whole lot more where that came from. So keep it tuned right here for any upcoming Sonic news and information, reviews, open discussions, game playthroughs, and a whole lot more. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you like what you saw, please do click that subscribe button. And remember, no adventure is fun if it's too easy.